There is a tiredness that does not come from work, but from being responsible for everyone else's emotions. It settles deep in your bones, a quiet, heavy ache that sleep doesn't touch. It is the exhaustion of the perpetual peacemaker, the emotional shock absorber, the one who is always, unfailingly, kind. You have been praised for this kindness. People call you understanding, compassionate, a good person. They say it with a smile as they take another piece of your time, your energy, your patience. And you smile back, because that is the role. That is the mask you have worn for so long. You have forgotten it is a mask. It feels like your own face. But lately, something has shifted. When you are alone, in the quiet of the night, the smile fades. The weight of all the feelings you've managed, all the conflicts you've smoothed over, all the needs you've anticipated, comes crashing down. You feel like an empty cup, sitting on a table where everyone has come to drink, and now they have left. And you are still just sitting there, empty. The most painful part is the dawning, terrifying realization. Your boundless kindness has not created more love, more respect, or more safety. It has created a vacuum where your own needs used to be. It has taught others that you are a resource, not a person. It has, in the quietest, most devastating way, become a form of self-betrayal. You find yourself apologizing for things that are not your fault, just to keep the peace. You feel a knot of anxiety in your stomach when you have to say no, as if you were committing a terrible crime. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you were too harsh, too selfish, too much. The fear of being seen as bad is a constant, low-grade hum beneath the surface of your life. It is the invisible fence that keeps you penned inside the pasture of being agreeable. And this is the paradox that is breaking you. The more you give, the less you are valued. The more you understand, the less you are understood. Your empathy, the very quality you thought was your greatest strength, has started to feel like a homing beacon for those who will drain it without a second thought. You have become a harbor for ships that never intended to stay, only to refuel and leave you with their wake. This is not a simple case of being too nice. That explanation is a platitude that dismisses the profound psychological war being waged within you. It ignores the deep, unconscious forces that have shaped this pattern. To truly understand why your kindness has turned against you, we must go deeper. We must look into the shadows of the psyche, into the territory that the great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung dedicated his life to mapping. This journey is not about learning to be colder, more cynical, or less compassionate. It is about understanding the sacred architecture of your own soul, so that your kindness can become a conscious, powerful gift, not a compulsive, draining obligation. It is about learning that a boundary is not a wall to keep others out, but the line that defines where you begin. It is the moment you finally decide that your own cup deserves to be full. The pattern often begins with a simple, almost invisible transaction. Someone is upset, and you, with your natural sensitivity, feel their distress as if it were your own. You step in to soothe them, to offer a solution, to listen for hours. You successfully calm the storm in them, and for a moment, you feel a sense of purpose. You feel needed, validated. You feel good. But then it happens again, and again. Soon, you are not just a person they turn to in a crisis. You have become the designated manager of their emotional state. Your phone buzzes late at night, and your nervous system jolts, anticipating another fire to put out. You start to proactively manage their moods, carefully choosing your words, tiptoeing around certain topics, all to prevent an outburst or a sulk. Your life is no longer your own. It is a constant, exhausting performance designed to maintain equilibrium in someone else. The praise continues. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only one who understands. These words, which once felt like a reward, now begin to sound like the bars of a cage. A beautiful, gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless. You are trapped in the role of the good one, the stable one, the rescuer. And here's the first critical insight from a Jungian perspective. You are not just being yourself. You have become identified with a persona. The persona, in Jung's terms, is the social mask we wear to navigate the world. It is the version of ourselves we present to others to be acceptable, likable, and to fit in. For you, the persona is that of the endlessly patient, unconditionally kind, and deeply empathetic individual. There is nothing inherently wrong with a persona. We all need one. The problem arises when we forget we are wearing it, when the mask fuses to the skin, when you believe that you are this endlessly giving being, and that any deviation from this role is a betrayal of your very essence. The danger of this fusion is that the persona has its own agenda. Its primary goal is to maintain social harmony and acceptance. It is terrified of rejection, conflict, and disapproval. Therefore, it will compel you to do things that are against your own best interests, all to preserve the image of being good. It will make you say yes when your body is screaming no. It will make you absorb another person's anger rather than risk their displeasure. It will sacrifice your own well-being on the altar of being liked. This is the first step of self-betrayal. You are no longer acting from your authentic center, from yourself. You are acting from the script of the persona, and the persona's only line is more. Give more, understand more, tolerate more. Because its greatest fear is the moment someone looks at you and says, "You disappointed me. You're not as nice as I thought you were." For the persona, this is a death sentence. But this is only the surface of the dynamic. The persona is what is visible. The true engine of this self-betraying pattern lies deeper, in the unconscious. It lies in what you project onto others. Think of a projector in a dark room. It takes a small, transparent slide and beams it onto a blank screen, creating a huge, vivid image. In psychological terms, projection is an unconscious process where we take a part of ourselves, a belief, a feeling, a quality, and attribute it to another person. We don't realize we are doing it. We genuinely believe the image we see on the screen is that person. For the person with boundless, self-depleting kindness, the most common and dangerous projection is the projection of goodness. You, at your core, possess a conscience. You have a deep capacity for empathy, a sense of fairness, and the ability to feel remorse. You assume, unconsciously, that everyone else is built the same way. You project your own internal moral landscape onto them. You see their manipulative behavior and call it a cry for help. You experience their emotional coldness and interpret it as deep pain they can't express. You witness their lack of accountability and think, they just don't know any better, but they have a good heart deep down. You are not seeing them. You are seeing your own goodness, your own capacity for change, your own conscience projected onto an empty screen. You are in a relationship not with the person in front of you, but with a ghost image of your own best qualities. This is why you give endless second chances. It's why you accept apologies that are just words, with no change in behavior. You are not giving a second chance to them. You are giving it to the projection of the good person you believe they could be. You are trying to nurture into existence a soul that you have painted onto them. And a manipulative pattern, or a narcissistic dynamic, thrives on this. It has no substance of its own, no inner light. It is a black hole. When you beam your light of goodness onto it, it doesn't reflect it back. It absorbs it. It feeds on it. Your projection becomes its fuel. The more you project your goodness, your empathy, your willingness to understand, the more it confirms to the dynamic that it has found a perfect source of supply. This is the heartbreaking answer to the question, why does my kindness attract this? It is because a user is always looking for a giver. A void is always looking for something to fill it. Your projection of goodness is an open invitation that says, I will not see your emptiness. I will see your potential. I will do the emotional work for both of us. I will not hold you accountable for who you are, because I am too busy loving who I believe you can become. This is the second, deeper act of self-betrayal. You are abandoning reality. You are abandoning the clear, painful evidence of your own senses in favor of a fantasy you have projected. Your body tells you it's drained. Your heart tells you it's lonely. Their actions tell you they don't care. But the projection is so powerful, so compelling, that you ignore all the data and continue to pour your life force into a mirage. So, we have the persona of the good person on the surface, and the projection of goodness operating in the unconscious. But what holds this entire structure in place? What prevents you from simply taking off the mask and turning off the projector? The glue is fear. Specifically, the deep, primal fear of your own shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not evil. It is simply everything about ourselves that we have repressed and disowned because it was deemed unacceptable by our family, our culture, or by ourselves. For the person trapped in the goodness persona, the shadow contains all the qualities that contradict the role. What is in your shadow? Your anger. Your healthy, righteous anger that says, "You will not treat me this way." Your selfishness. Not the destructive kind, but the sacred selfishness that says, "My needs matter too. My energy is finite and precious." Your ability to disappoint people. Your right to say no without an excuse, simply because it is your truth. Your capacity to be difficult when a boundary is being crossed. You have spent a lifetime defining yourself as not that. Not angry, not selfish, not difficult, not disappointing. You have pushed these vital, life-preserving parts of yourself into the darkness of the unconscious. And now you are terrified of them. The fear of being bad is the fear of your own disowned shadow. When you are about to set a boundary, what do you feel? A surge of guilt. A voice that whispers, "You're being selfish, you're being mean." They will be so hurt. They will think you're a bad person. That voice is the voice of the persona, terrified that the shadow might emerge and shatter the good image it has worked so hard to maintain. The guilt is not a moral compass telling you you've done something wrong. The guilt is the alarm system of the persona. It is the sound of the cage bars rattling as you try to get free. It is a conditioned response, drilled into you from a young age, that taught you that your safety and lovability depended on suppressing your own needs and your own truth. Perhaps as a child, your anger was punished. Your needs were treated as an inconvenience. You were praised only when you were quiet, compliant, and helpful. You learned a devastating equation. My authentic self equals rejection. My helpful persona equals love. This isn't just a memory. It's what Jung would call a complex. It's an emotionally charged cluster of unconscious beliefs that runs your life automatically. The good person complex. So now, when a manipulative person pushes your boundaries, they are not just dealing with you, the adult. They are unconsciously activating this deep childhood complex. When they subtly threaten you with their disapproval, they are pushing the button that triggers your primal fear of abandonment. Your conscious mind may know their behavior is wrong, but the unconscious complex takes over, and you find yourself reverting to the old survival strategy. Appease, soothe, be good, and maybe the threat will go away. Maybe this time, you will finally earn the unconditional love and safety you've always craved. This is the third and most profound layer of self-betrayal. In your desperate attempt to avoid your own shadow, your own power, your own anger, your own no, you allow another person's darkness to consume your life. You sacrifice your own soul to avoid being called selfish. You allow yourself to be treated without respect to avoid being seen as unkind. You live in a state of constant, low-grade anxiety to avoid a moment of conflict. You have made a deal with the devil, and the devil is your own fear of being whole. The price of being good has become your own vitality. If this is resonating with a deep, quiet truth inside you, take a breath. This is not about blame. This is about illumination. You cannot change a pattern you cannot see. For the first time, you may be seeing the hidden architecture of your own suffering. The turning point is not a grand, dramatic confrontation. It is a quiet, internal shift. It is the moment you begin to question the entire premise. It is the moment you ask, what if good is not the ultimate goal? What if whole is? A whole person is not just light. A whole person has integrated their shadow. A whole person can be kind and compassionate, but they can also be fierce and boundaried. A whole person can be generous, but they also know how to be healthily selfish. A whole person can love others because they have first stopped betraying themselves. The first step toward wholeness is to start observing the dynamic without judgment. Notice the moments your body tenses up because you're anticipating someone's needs. Notice the automatic, "I'm sorry," that leaves your lips when you've done nothing wrong. Notice the wave of guilt that washes over you when you even consider putting yourself first. Do not fight these feelings, just observe them. See them for what they are, the echoes of an old survival program, the ghosts of the persona and the complex trying to keep you in line. When you feel the guilt, say to yourself, there is the fear of my shadow. There is the chain. I see it now. The next step is to begin withdrawing your projections. This is incredibly difficult. It requires you to consciously choose to believe people's actions over your story about their potential. When someone shows you, repeatedly, that they are careless with your heart, you must find the courage to believe them. This does not mean you must label them as evil. That is just another projection. It simply means seeing them for what they are, a person who, for whatever reason, is not capable of or interested in meeting you with the same level of care and respect that you offer. You are not their savior. You are not their therapist. You are not responsible for fixing their brokenness. Your only responsibility is to protect your own well-being. Withdrawing the projection feels like a heartbreak. In a way, it is. You are mourning the loss of the person you thought they were, the person you wanted them to be. You are letting go of the beautiful image you painted on the screen. It is a necessary grief. You must let the fantasy die so that you can live. As you withdraw the projection, you will find you have a surplus of energy. This is the energy you were pouring into the black hole. Now, you must reinvest it in yourself. This is where you begin the courageous work of meeting your own shadow. How do you do this? You start small. You practice saying no to a small request. You don't offer an elaborate excuse. You just say, "I'm not able to do that." And then you sit with the discomfort. You feel the guilt, the fear, the urge to take it back. And you breathe through it. You are teaching your nervous system that you can disappoint someone and you will not die. The world will not end. You start to listen to your anger, not to lash out, but to hear its message. Anger is a boundary-setting emotion. It is a sacred signal that something you value is being threatened. Instead of swallowing it, you ask it, "What are you trying to protect? What line has been crossed?" The anger, when listened to, becomes your guardian. It gives you the fuel to say, "Enough." You practice healthy selfishness. You schedule time for yourself that is non-negotiable. You buy yourself something beautiful. You spend an evening doing nothing but what fills your own cup. You learn that caring for yourself is not an indulgence. It is a fundamental prerequisite for a healthy life. You cannot pour from an empty cup. This is not a metaphor. It is a law of physics and of the soul. This process is what Carl Jung called individuation. It is the journey of becoming an individual, whole and undivided. It is the process of retrieving the lost parts of yourself from the shadow, withdrawing your projections from others, and learning to operate from your authentic self, not a conditioned persona. During this journey, the dynamic with the manipulative person will inevitably change. When you stop playing your part in the unconscious contract, the entire play falls apart. When you stop overgiving, they may accuse you of being selfish. When you set a boundary, they may accuse you of being cruel. When you stop managing their emotions, they may have a tantrum like a child. They will say, "You've changed," and you must find the strength to stand firm in your own heart and say, "Yes, I have." They are not reacting to your cruelty. They are reacting to the loss of control. They are reacting to the fact that their fuel source has been cut off. Their accusations are not a reflection of your character. They are the desperate attempts of the dynamic to pull you back into your old role. This is the final test. Can you withstand their disapproval to gain your own self-respect? Can you choose the temporary discomfort of their anger over the permanent soul erosion of self-betrayal? If this is naming something you have never been able to say out loud, find a quiet moment and write a single sentence for yourself in a private journal. A sentence of truth. Perhaps it is, "I am not responsible for their happiness," or "My peace is more important than their approval." Let the words anchor you in this new reality. The ultimate goal is not to become a person who is no longer kind. It is to become a person whose kindness is wise. Wise kindness has discernment. It can see the difference between a person who is genuinely struggling and a person who is exploiting. Wise kindness is not boundless. It is beautifully, powerfully boundaried. It flows from a cup that is full, a cup that you have learned to fill for yourself first. Imagine yourself holding this cup. It is full of your own energy, your own peace, your own self-love. When you encounter someone, you can now make a conscious choice. You can choose to offer them a sip from your overflow, a gift given freely and without expectation. Or, if you sense that they only want to drain you, you can hold your cup, smile, and walk away. You have nothing to prove. Your worth is not determined by how much you give away. Your worth is inherent. The fear of being bad will fade. replaced by the quiet confidence of being whole. You will realize that selfish can be a sacred word. Difficult can mean you respect yourself. Anger can be the voice of your love for your own life. You are not betraying the world by taking care of yourself. You are betraying yourself when you let the world convince you that your only value is in how much of yourself you can give away. The journey back from self-betrayal is the journey home to the self. It is quiet, it is sometimes lonely, but it is the only path to a life of genuine peace and authentic connection. It is the moment your kindness stops being an apology for your existence and becomes, instead, a celebration of it. And here is where the journey takes a turn from the psychological to the physiological. The body, which has been the silent witness to your self-betrayal, now becomes your most trusted guide. For years, it has been speaking a language you were taught to ignore. The knot in your stomach before an encounter with a draining person was not just anxiety, it was a visceral premonition. The tightness in your chest as you agreed to one more demand was not just stress, it was your life force literally contracting. The chronic fatigue was not just a lack of sleep, it was the somatic manifestation of your soul's exhaustion. Your body holds the score. It remembers every time you said yes when your spirit screamed no. It remembers every swallowed word, every forced smile, every moment you chose another's comfort over your own safety. This memory is not stored in thought, but in tissue. It is in the tension of your shoulders, which have been braced for the next emotional blow. It is in the shallow quality of your breath, as if you are afraid to take up too much space. It is in the dull ache behind your eyes from scanning every room, every face, for signs of impending conflict. As you begin to practice setting these small boundaries, something remarkable happens. After you say, "I'm not able to do that," and survive the initial storm of guilt, a new feeling begins to surface. It is quiet, subtle, and you may not recognize it at first. It is a feeling of calm spreading through your torso. It is a spontaneous, deep breath that you didn't even know you were holding. It is a loosening in your jaw. This is your body's way of saying, "Thank you. Finally, you listened." This physical feedback becomes your new North Star. The old compass, the desire for approval, the fear of being bad, was faulty. It led you in circles, deeper into the wilderness of pleasing others. Your new compass is this felt sense of inner rightness. Before making a decision, you will learn to pause and check in, not with your anxious mind, but with your body. Does this choice create a feeling of expansion or contraction within you? Does it lead to a deeper breath or a tighter chest? Your body knows the truth long before your mind can rationalize it. It cannot be gaslit. It cannot be fooled by empty promises. It knows the difference between the resonant hum of a genuine connection and the discordant static of a parasitic one. This is the beginning of reclaiming your physical sovereignty. You start to notice other, more subtle signs of the old pattern trying to re-emerge. You'll set a boundary and then feel an almost compulsive urge to over-explain, to justify your no with a long list of socially acceptable reasons. This is the persona's last gasp, trying to soften the blow and manage the other person's reaction. The new practice is to let the no be a complete sentence. You are learning that your boundaries do not require a defense attorney. You might also catch yourself fantasizing about the old dynamic, a strange, nostalgic pull to go back to being the rescuer. You might think, they're really struggling now, maybe if I just help them this one more time. This is the addiction to the role, the craving for the validation that came from being needed. Recognize it for what it is, a ghost. You are not missing the person, you are missing the part you got to play. But you know now that the price of that role is your own soul. As you become stronger, you will face the later, more insidious tests. The initial tantrum from the manipulative person is predictable. What is more dangerous is the hoover. This is when, after a period of silence, they return, seemingly transformed. They are suddenly apologetic, insightful, and articulate about everything you ever wanted to hear. They say, "You were right. I see it now. I've been working on myself. I finally appreciate you." This is the most challenging test of your projection. The mirage you had to let die has seemingly come to life. Your mind will scream, "See, I was right all along. The good person was in there. They just needed my help to come out." This is the ultimate lure back into the fantasy. But your body will tell a different story. In their presence, despite the pretty words, you will feel that old, familiar tension, that slight drain. Your new, wise self must learn to trust the body's data over the beautiful story being presented. True change is demonstrated through consistent, long-term action, not through a sudden, convenient epiphany that happens to coincide with their loneliness. Another late test is the quiet loneliness that follows the storm. When you clear your life of draining dynamics, you create a vacuum. The constant drama, the late-night calls, the feeling of being central to someone's survival, it's all gone. And the resulting silence can be deafening. The temptation is to rush to fill that void with anything, even a new version of the old poison, because the emptiness feels more frightening than the pain. The test here is to befriend the silence, to learn to sit in the space you have created for yourself and trust that it is sacred ground. It is in this fertile emptiness that your own voice, your own desires, and your own joy can finally begin to grow. It is here that you will eventually attract connections that are born of mutual respect, not of desperate need. This entire process is about reclaiming your power. For the good person, power is a terrifying word, one that lives in the shadow. It's associated with dominance, control, and selfishness. But this is a distorted view. The power you are reclaiming is not power over others. It is power to. The power to protect yourself. The power to choose your reality. The power to create a life that aligns with your soul. The power to say, "My energy is a sacred resource, and I am its steward." Integrating your shadow means you are no longer just the gentle lamb. You have also found your inner wolf. Not a wolf that hunts and destroys, but a wolf that guards the territory of your soul with fierce loyalty. It knows how to snarl when a threat approaches. It knows how to stand its ground. It knows how to protect the softer, more vulnerable parts of you. A whole person is both the lamb and the wolf, and they know when to be which. And a strange thing happens when you are no longer afraid of your own shadow. You become far less afraid of the darkness in others. You can look at manipulative behavior and see it clearly for what it is, a desperate, wounded strategy, without feeling compelled to fix it or be consumed by it. Your compassion actually deepens because it is no longer tangled up with fear and obligation. You can have compassion from a safe distance. You can wish someone well and send them on their way without letting them into your home, your heart, or your energy field. So let us return to that initial image, the deep, bone-weary tiredness. Contrast that now with a different kind of ache, the satisfying soreness of a muscle that has been worked for the first time, the tender feeling of a heart that is breaking open, not breaking down. This is the ache of growth. It is the feeling of becoming stronger. It is the tiredness that comes not from self-betrayal, but from the courageous work of self-reclamation. This is not a journey with a final destination. It is a lifelong practice of returning to yourself, over and over again. There will be days you slip back into old habits. You will say yes when you mean no. You will catch yourself falling for an old story. The difference is that now, you will not use it as evidence that you are a failure. You will see it, acknowledge it with a gentle self-compassion, and correct your course. The goal is not perfection. The goal is allegiance, a steadfast, unwavering allegiance to your own soul. You will learn that your kindness does not need to be a weakness. When it is offered from a place of wholeness, it is the most powerful force there is. A kindness that is not afraid to be fierce. A generosity that does not require self-immolation. A love that is not predicated on self-abandonment. You are no longer an open harbor for any ship that wants to dock and dump its bilge. You are a lighthouse, standing tall on your own solid ground, rooted in your own truth. Your light, your kindness, your empathy, your love shines out, brilliant and clear. It guides those who are lost. It warms those who are cold, but it does so from a place of unshakable integrity. It does not dim itself for anyone. It does not move from its foundation. The ships can choose to navigate by its light, or they can pass by into the darkness. But the lighthouse remains, constant, whole, and bright.